Hey, what's up DIYers? Mike Bors with the Mike Bors channel. Thank you for watching. In today's video, the step-by-step process on how to descale a tankless water heater. Let's get started. Here it is, DIYers. It comes in a box about 1.5 feet tall. Let's go ahead and open it and see what's inside. A box inside of a box. We'll continue. Inside box is open, and there it is. The Superior pump, and there are all the internal parts. What we'll do is grab the user manual and become familiar with it. I spent a couple minutes, read the manual. What I recommend next is verify all of your parts are here. You've got the pump, you've got your bucket, 2 hoses, and the descaling powder. On top, you've got this little red push button here, and that allows you to unscrew the top of the bucket. Inside, there's your pump, you've got 2 hoses, and down in here is the descaling powder. All right, DIYers, inside the utility room in front of us is our Rinnai tankless water heater, and as you can see, it is plugged in and operating. We are going to first cut all electrical power to the unit, and that light should go off. And next, we are going to close the gas valve. You will know it's closed when the valve itself is no longer in line with the gas line. Next, coming down below, you've got hot and cold water lines, and each water line has a shutoff valve, and above each water line shutoff valve is a service valve, and we're going to close all of these. As you can see, the hot service valve is in the closed position. It is not in line with the service port. However, the hot water shutoff valve is in line. We need to close that, and these are pretty stiff if you've never operated these before. As you can see with that little arrow there, open is counterclockwise and close is clockwise, and you may need both hands. However, maybe not. That's closed, and same thing with the cold water line shutoff valve. And every valve is now closed. Next, go ahead and open up your descaling powder, pour it in the bucket, and mix it with 1 gallon of water. And before you pour the powder in, verify your bucket is clean. And do your best not to make a mess. No need to rush it. Go slow, be patient, and do it right. 1 gallon of water is now mixed in the bucket with the descaler powder, and we are now going to connect one side of one hose to the pump. Here's the thread, and the opposite side to the cold water service valve. Inside each end of the hose is a rubber gasket to create a watertight seal, and each of these water lines are 6 feet long. Do your absolute best not to cross thread this. It is plastic thread. It should go on very smoothly. And as you can see, this is spinning. I may need to use both hands. Water line is now secured to the pump. That is tight, but do not over tighten it. Again, plastic thread, but you want it tight because if you don't, it will leak. Come up to the service valve and carefully remove the service cap. And it might leak a couple drops of water. And to the opposite side of the hose that connects to the pump, we will now secure this fitting to the thread. And when you tighten these lines to the valve, again, you want them tight, but do not over tighten them. You may need to use pliers, but be careful. You do not want to over tighten it and damage any other portion of the plumbing and cause a leak. Just work slow and efficient. And before installing the second hose, the instructions state to put the pump inside the bucket of water and powder. Next, coming back up to the hot water, and we are going to open up this little service valve here, remove the cap. A little bit of water came out, and we're going to install the second hose. And again, just be careful as you do this. You will turn it clockwise to tighten it. And again, inside here is a rubber gasket to create a watertight seal. Water line is now secured, and you use those pliers to tighten it just a bit more above normal hand tight. And the opposite end of this hose will go inside the bucket, and you want to position the bucket and this hose accordingly, or in a manner where it is not going to pop out of the bucket and spray water all over. And I took about 10 seconds and maneuvered that hose accordingly, and I'm coming back up, and both the hot and cold service valves we are now going to open. And again, reference the open and close arrow icon, and in our case we are going to turn it counterclockwise, both hot and cold, where they are in line with the hoses. At this point, you want to double check everything, because the next step is we are going to plug in that pump and allow it to circulate and clean the internal portion of our water heater for 60 minutes. And everything looks good in line, and we are now going to plug it in. Once we plug it in, you will hear the pump begin, and you want to check for leaks. If it starts spraying water everywhere, unplug the pump and figure out where it's leaking, and maybe tighten the fitting. Pump is going, and no water spraying. So far, so good. And again, we are going to run this for 60 minutes. I am now 30 minutes into it and no leaks. Everything is working as designed. As far as the descaler, the package came with powder because it is much more economical to ship powder as opposed to liquid. When it comes time next year to descale this water heater again, chances are I'll probably use vinegar or the liquid form of this exact descaling product for this kit. Also, during the 60 minutes, go ahead and review steps 8 through 14 just so you are familiar with what to do after the 60 minutes. 60 minutes is now up, and we are now going to unplug the pump. And we're going to go to the cold service valve and turn it clockwise and close it. And we're going to grab the pliers and remove this fitting from the service valve. Again, the cold line. I use the pliers to break this free, and it probably will leak just a bit. And I'm going to shift this straight into the bucket. And I will return the service valve cover. What we'll do next is disconnect the hose from the top portion of the pump. From here, I'm going to lift the pump up and out of the bucket, let it drain just for a bit, and I'll set that pump on the towel. At this point, DIYers, we need to flush the system. I've grabbed an additional 5-gallon bucket and a trash can, and we are going to open up the cold water valve by turning it counterclockwise, and water is going to flow all the way through and out the service valve for the hot traveling into the bucket. We are going to do this for about 5 minutes, and it may fill up some bins. Here we go. And once this fills up, I will carefully transfer it to the second bucket. And it's filling up fast. And again, this is just to remove any and all remaining scaling product or that powder detergent from the water heater. Coming up on 5 minutes, and what we're going to do is close the service valve by turning it clockwise. What I'll do next is remove the buckets of water as well as the trash can full of water, and as you can see, the bucket that has the water that has been cleaning the water heater for the last hour has a completely different color. And that means it has done its job. It has cleaned out the internal portion of the water heater. Buckets of water are removed, and in the event that you have a sump pump nearby, you can definitely drain into that. However, for us, we have a radon system installed, and our sump pump has to be properly sealed for code to alleviate any and all radon gases from escaping from that sump area. What we'll do next is grab those pliers, loosen up this water hose fitting, and remove this hose from the service valve. And as you do this, water did leak out from the bottom or the opposite side of the hose. And go ahead and re-secure the service valve cap. Again, do not cross thread it. It should rotate on there very easily. Go ahead and take a step back and verify your valves are properly configured. You've got the cold line inline and open. You've got the cold service valve in the closed position and the cap on. You've got your hot service valve in the closed position, and it is now time to open up your hot valve. And what I recommend is drying any and all water that leaked as you're removing those hoses. Next, we will shift to the opposite side. We are going to open up the gas, and we are now going to plug the water heater back in and return it to service. And it will go through a self-test real quick just to ensure everything is properly configured and working. And that is it. What I'll do next is clean the pump and get any and all remaining descale powder out of that, and I will label that my cold line and that my hot line for next year's descaling procedures. All I use to mark the hoses is electrical tape, and I bought a color set maybe 5 years ago, used some scissors, and I just wrapped each end. Again, blue for cold, red for hot. I am letting the pump dry as well as the hoses. Back inside the utility room, and we are up and running, and we've got the hot water on and the system is working perfectly. I've got everything removed as well as the DIY Raptor towel. I have dried any and all fittings, and over the next couple days I'm just going to monitor the fittings and connection points to verify and ensure there are no leaks. And that is it, DIYers. Hopefully this helps. Hey, do us a favor, below the video you will see that thumbs up icon. Click on that, like the video, subscribe to the channel, definitely ring your YouTube bell. That would be very helpful to us. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching. And one more thing, scrolling above right now is a link to a video that shows you the before and after comparison of our old standard tank compared to the new tankless tank here.